What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 386 of the Hoots Podcast. It's yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez. I'm speaking to you live from the Break Free Room here in lovely Chicago, Illinois. It's Thursday, November 9th, 2023. 2023 is wrapping up very soon, and on my end, this year can't end soon enough. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm in good spirits, ready to rock and roll. We are exactly 14 episodes away from reaching episode 400 of the Hoots Podcast, and just trying to enjoy the process with continuing on with the show. And the numbers have been pretty cool to see. Like last week's episode was the second highest rated episode that we've done on Anchor and Spotify. So I want to give a big shout out to each and every single one of you for continuing on with the support for this podcast, man. It really means a lot to me and everybody in the crew that's been part of the show. And the support is definitely there, and I don't not acknowledge that. It doesn't go unnoticed on my end. And though I'm at my wit's end when it comes to this wrestling media stuff from a podcasting point of view, I'm very appreciative for those who still care what I have to say about wrestling and still want to have some fun. And if any way I could give out some life advice and make your day better and give you a different perspective on things, then I think I accomplished my job. So 14 episodes away from episode 400, and let's continue to enjoy the ride 1 week at a time, one episode at a time. And again, I just want to say thank you all for the support. On this week's podcast, we'll recap what happened in Saudi Arabia with Crown Jewel. A little later on, we'll start off the show as we've been doing over the last couple weeks. As I flip the script on the format, we'll start off this week's episode with what the hell's wrong with AEW, and of course, we'll wrap up in our main event segment with the back porch Q&A session. So, really quick on the plugs. In obviously, you can follow me on X as you see on the screen at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Josh Lopez Media if you want to check me out there. Make sure to check out my wrestling transcripts at WrestlingHeadlines.com. That would mean a lot to me. That's my my day job outside of doing this podcast, and it's very helpful. And I'm very appreciative of those who like retweet and like check out the transcripts and stuff. It means a lot to me. I've been putting a lot of grunt work into those articles since I got my job back, and I'm not looking back. This week's been good. There's so much as you guys know about the process I'm in right now in this whole weight loss stuff and working out and doing the walks and meal preps and a lot of it. And I'm not alone in this. I've been at this for almost 5.5 months now. And, some parts of the process can get a little bit nauseating just with anything in life. And not in a bad way, but, you're just like in a pattern, right? And there's been so many positive things that have come from this experience that obviously, I'm taking care of me. And obviously it's great from health point of view, mental health point of view, all that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. What I'm saying is that for someone like me who likes being in a routine and doing stuff like that, I am a Taurus after all. But even for me, like some parts of the process could be a little nauseating, but not frustrating. Like I made these changes for the better, and I'm trying to just wiggle around how I want to go about this new aspect of my life and the changes I'm making for the better. And, when you're in transition like that, from a personal point of view, sometimes that process can be nauseating. But again, it's not in a bad light. Like I'm doing this for all the right reasons. I'm doing it for me, which is the main reason and sole reason why I'm doing this. And secondly, I'm doing this to shock some people too along the way. And it starts and ends with me. And I started this process. I will finish through this process. And, there are good days, there are bad days. This week, it's just a normal week for me. Like, I don't have much to report on because I'm doing the same amount of stuff I've been doing since Tuesday, Monday. I have a set deadline of how many sets I want to do in a particular day, and they fluctuate on how I'm feeling, what I want to do for that particular day, how that intertwines with the transcripts I'm doing. But I have a baseline of the number of sets I want to do in a particular day, and I make sure that I hit those. I mean, today, as I'm recording this, I did 10 miles. I did about 21,000 steps today, and it's not for everybody. Like I said, there's good days, there's bad days, there's fatigues that set in when it comes to that process. But I'm like, I feel like a good like weight like collectively like off my shoulders once I'm done with these type of walks, and like I'm seeing like the progress I've been making with all this stuff, because it's I'm putting the work into it, and it's showing itself along the way. And I'm just in a part of my life right now where I'm like detaching a lot of the old things I would think, detaching a lot of the old perspective I would have on things, and detaching a lot of old things that has lived with me for many years. I'm trying to reimagine what I am as a man, as a broadcaster, just all around. I'm just working and focusing on me right now, and that's part of the reason why I've been in this reflective state of like, should I continue on with recording the show? Should I continue on with this podcast? Because I'm just entering a part of my life where like I don't know like what the future holds for me. A lot of people give me compliments, and I trust me. For those who are watching and listening, I understand that I will never begrudge somebody for complimenting me for my like worth ethic and who I am as a human being. So that's not come from with this angle, but like um, you know I think from a certain standpoint, at least professionally, I'm kind of missing like some clarity of like where I stand in my field. Like I know within what I do with the transcripts that nobody can touch me when it comes to doing wrestling play-by-play articles. I'm not saying that in a braggadocious point of view. The facts show itself, and a lot of these wrestling websites that do play-by-play coverage are just copying and pasting each other. I'm giving you 100% authentic work, and there's gonna be times where I make mistakes, you know, and I'm not responsible for promo segments not making sense and stuff like that. But along the way, especially when you're a content creator, the worst enemy that you have is this right here. It's your brain and your mind. And you start questioning yourself like, okay, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right things? Am I going about it the right way? Do I have the right connections? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I good at what I do? That's a big thing that I ask myself sometimes. I have 100% confidence within what I can do transcript wise in wrestling. That's not an issue for me. But when it comes to doing a show like this, we've had this show for over 7 years now, and we're close to getting 400 episodes, and we're, hitting these cool benchmarks. We're getting close to 900,000 downloads and stuff like that, and all this other stuff that's going on right now. But, I don't know. I don't know where I stand within my field when it comes to doing this. Not that I'm regretting any decisions that I made in the last 10 years, because literally, in the beginning of March of next year, it'll be 10 years of me being in this like media field, and I don't necessarily know like where I stand. And is my ceiling within this field just being part of the wrestling media and just being strictly a play-by-play writer, or having a podcast like this where I don't know half the time if people genuinely care what I have to say, or if the show's making an impact. There's a lot of different thoughts that run through my mind as I go through this process. And, I've had a lot of changes over the years when it comes to this show in particular, where I've had to shuffle out co-hosts and stuff like that. And, that's cool. Life happens. A lot of the guys that have been on the show have gone on to get married, have other priorities and stuff to worry about. And I respect that 100%. But a lot of ways I've had to rely on myself through this whole process of doing this show and making sure it's consistent and staying true to the premise that I made when I started the show back in 2016. And sometimes I wonder if we're on the right track. I just don't know. I feel like personally, I'm on the right track with a lot of things. I could definitely say that I'm on the right track of just, continuing to embrace my healing process from the stuff that happened a few years ago. Um, Being adjusted of living here, this new apartment that I'm at. Um, Everything I just mentioned a couple minutes ago with the whole workout stuff. I feel like I'm on the right track with a lot of that stuff, and um, it's good to say that you're not in a position where you're worried about things or feeling sad or depressed about stuff, because really nothing within my life right now where I'm like, fuck, man, like feeling sorry for me or anything like that. I don't have that feeling about any topic or any person or anything at at this moment, and I think that's I think that's a good sign, right? You don't want to have burdens and weight on your shoulders over stuff that you don't have control over, or long standing doubt, or whatever runs through your brain threshold, right? But for me, professionally, again, I just don't really know where I stand in this field, and that's really one of the main reasons why I have been considering ending the show, because I have really good self awareness, and I just don't want this show to overstay its welcome. And I think that's really the biggest thing too. Outside of, like, I don't know, with where I stand amongst my colleagues when it comes to doing audio shows, am I any closer for actually working in the actual wrestling business? Will a door ever open for me when it comes to the radio stuff here in the city? It's just a lot of different thoughts run through my mind, and it's a lot of the reasons why I wonder whether I should continue on with this. Why I want to move out of Chicago and really start the next chapter of my life. And really, just right now, as I'm speaking to you right now here on this Thursday, November 9th, I'm just really taking this time to work on me and truly, truly, truly trying to figure out what I want for myself and what I want out of this profession. And I have no regrets for getting into this field, not one regret. But we all go through this, right? When you go to the field where you feel like you're not getting appreciated or you're not getting your flowers at times, and I'm a testament. That's how I feel right now, and all I can control is the content that I dish out, and I'm very grateful for all of you for continue to support me, whether you listen to the show for a couple minutes or a couple seconds here or there. I do appreciate it, and I just want to say again, thank you for the support. Like I said, all the other information as far as following the podcast is in the description of this video here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our channel as we're on the road to 500 subscribers. And don't forget, we're very close to getting that 1 million download mark on Anchor, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm in good spirits. I'm happy. On a personal end, I don't have any distractions right now in my life. I'm really like detaching myself from a lot of things that would bring me down from the past, and I'm just really trying to keep my focus on making sure that I reload my bank account and stuff like that, and just trying to take things one week at a time, man. That's really all I have control over. All this extra shit's gonna figure itself out because I got the man upstairs guiding me along that path. There's only so much I can control here. I try my best. I don't want to put myself in a position where I feel like I had to impress everybody and stuff like that. I have to take the reins of me and what's going on inside my heart and everything within me, because if I want to start this next chapter in my life, I got to do it on my own. And everything in between that's come through this process with the workout stuff, learning how to cook, all this extra shit, I'm just trying my best to reimagine what this next chapter of my life is going to be. And we all get to this point where, like in May, I'm turning 30. I'm turning 30 next year. And I just don't know what the future looks like for me. And I've always been a person, I feel like my ceiling is much higher than where I am right now. And I'm just, in my way, I'm trying to figure out how to get there. And I just don't have that answer yet. So it can be frustrating at times. But, I got a little bit of reassurance this week. A buddy of mine, Rob Aurelius, who you've heard and watched here on the Hoots podcast, reached out and called me on yesterday. He called me yesterday, a little bit after I was done with my workout yesterday. He called me, and it was good to catch up with him. We talked for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes or so. And it was good to catch up with him. Over the years, I've grown a lot of good connections from doing the podcast and my transcript work. And Rob is one of the very few people along the journey that's just always been consistent with not only, offering advice and being like a mentor to me and, supporting my work, but also checking in on how I'm feeling as a human being. And I'm really grateful for the words he shared to me yesterday, and just offering some encouragement with the situation I've been talking about here in the beginning part of the show, and just offering some reassurance, and I'm on the right path and all those good things. And I really do appreciate that, because sometimes you don't know if you are on the right path, and sometimes you need to hear from somebody else, because living within yourself, like one moment you can think you're on top of the world and you're ready to do this and you're about to break out and you become this big star, and the next day you feel like a piece of shit. Like you feel like you're irrelevant, that nobody cares what you have to say. And those thoughts creep through my mind sometimes, especially when it comes to the on-air stuff. But with everything that's going on in my life right now and the changes I'm making right now, I just trying my best just to keep perspective and enjoy the process as the weeks go by. And I'm a very goal oriented person. I didn't think I'd still be living here in Chicago where I'm at, but life throws curveballs at you, and I'm just trying my best to adjust and adapt to these situations. And not, I'm on the come up right now. We all know it. This year's has been a shit show for me. It really has. It's been a real shit show for me. And I'm just trying my best to rebound and just trying to get back to where I was before I went to Dallas for WrestleMania last year. And I just I want to give a shout out to Rob from ARCG Media for reaching out to me the other day, because those words meant a lot to me, especially hearing from somebody in the field like that, and a guy who's done actual work with WWE, to hear what he had to say and offer me some reassurance along the way really meant a lot to me. So I really appreciate Rob doing that for me and his brotherhood over the last couple of years. We got to spend some time in person in Dallas when I went out to Jerry World for WrestleMania 38. And, it's been one of the few people I could trust along this wrestling media experience. And, there's been people who I've looked up to and guys that I considered mentors that, I don't know what happened where we just lost touch, or I wouldn't say like a ghost situation, but when you're struggling, and I told him this yesterday, like I just feel like after that trip in Dallas, I just feel like professionally I've been taking step back after step back after step back, and when you're struggling like that and you really don't know what's going on and you feel lost, it really shows your true friends and real mentors show up for you. And I want to give a shout out to Rob for doing that for me, because this shit's not easy, man. This wrestling content creation stuff is not easy, and it's not for everybody. I'll openly admit that. It's not for everybody. But I just want to say again, thank you all for supporting the show, everybody. And as the weeks go by and we get closer to episode 400, I'll reconsider and see where things are when it comes to the future of this podcast. But I just want to say thank you for rocking with us and giving this podcast a chance. So again, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Okay, let's start off this week's show with another stellar edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We'll start this bad boy off in a 3, 2, 1.
Your meat, beat 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 your meat.
I'm telling you, my time is right now. Right this minute, 2022. We're living in my time is now. My time is right. God damn now.
Man, what intensity.
The quality of the product and the quality of the shows is at an all-time high right now. But I do know that it's a real war between AEW and WWE.
I'm still cashing fat checks, and I am still banging the hottest bitch in this entire place.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Oh boy, man. What the hell is wrong with AEW this week? AKA, what isn't wrong with AEW? We got a couple of comments popping here on the stream. Shout out to my buddy Brett Strupsel. I'm doing good, my man. Thanks for checking out the show, man. I appreciate you. Also, got my main man, Sam Piopo at Second City Sam. He said, made it just in time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? Let's go. Well, Sam, I I ask myself every single week, why do I subject myself to sheer and other nonsense? I was having a conversation again with a buddy of mine the other day, and I'm like, if you really think about it, Tony Khan makes Eric Bischoff look like fucking Bill Gates, if we're being honest here. Like, seriously. Tony Khan, it by far is the most airheaded, delusional, inept wrestling owner, booker, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that I have seen in my entire life. Literally, he makes Dixie Carter look like fucking Shakespeare when it comes to wrestling content and content creation. I look at this graphic here that our buddy Joe Cerna made for us on the podcast. You see it. You see all the characters. You got Dan Clanson. You got Alexander Hantes knocking the fuck off. We got Jungle Twat. We got the Kobe God. Punk is there. We got the Hartley Boys, Brandon Cutlet, Kenny Olivier, and Mrs. Horseface herself, Mrs. Personality Jones, Aubrey Edwards there in living color. You got the island of misfit toys, and that's what we have to sit through on TBS each and every single week. One part of AEW last week that I forgot to mention was the whole deal of Tony Khan like, oh my God, I got a major announcement, and then it ended up being an announcement for ticket sales for next year's All In at Wembley Stadium, right? Well, there's so much that I went off on last week's episode when it comes to what that was wrong with AEW that I didn't have enough time to address this. And thank God I found a good clip here this week from the A3 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson, where Eric Bischoff himself gave his perspective on the nonsense that comes with these special announcements all the time for Tony Khan. Literally, I wouldn't recommend this, especially as a guy that's straight edge and doesn't drink, but literally, you could take a shot every time Tony Khan makes an announcement and it ends up meaning next to nothing. So let's hear what Bischoff has to say about this whole situation.
Three other notes I want to touch on. There was a really great hypothetical idea thrown out there by Bully Ray. It's picked up some traction. I've heard from.
1 second. I'll get to the Bischoff one about the announcement in a little bit, but this one is about a concept that everybody's throwing out there about CM Punk being under the devil mask. So let's hear what Bischoff had to say.
Some people who are pretty smart in the wrestling business who say that, boy, this could be the real shot in the arm that perhaps AEW has been looking for. Bully Ray suggested on Busted Open that if the person behind the devil mask, where we saw that attack a few weeks ago, and now there's been a whodunit, if it turns out to be revealed that that is actually CM Punk, that it would be one of the greatest storyline and works and presentations in the history of wrestling. And I can't help but think, all right, first of all, if that's true, and that is CM Punk, I don't believe it is, but if they're going to reveal that that's CM Punk, this is one of the greatest stories in the history of pro wrestling. Now, if we agree that it's probably not CM Punk, after people have suggested that it's CM Punk, I think almost whoever it is now is going to be a bit of a disappointment to a certain section of the fan base. I remember being in Daly's place in the stands for the AEW pay-per-view where they announced that Tony Khan had signed one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. This was going to be one of the biggest signings in the history of wrestling. And all around me in that section of fans, as we watched that pay-per-view, people were guessing it's Brock Lesnar, it's John Cena. It wound up being Christian. Now we know right now Christian is doing some of the best work of his career. He's been a home run for AEW. But managing expectations is like the key to life. Now that fans are starting to go wild with this theory that, hey, CM Punk in the devil mask, which I don't believe it is, it's almost a disappointment no matter who it is now, right?
Yeah, let me back up on Bully's statement, though, about this being, the best story in the history.
He didn't say that. I said that.
All right. Well, then let me call you out on that. That's bullshit. The only way that that's true is if this would have been planned over the last year. Otherwise, it's just making chicken salad out of chicken shit. There's nothing genius about that.
Well hang on. The result is the same, right? Really happy fans?
It's not. No, it's not.
Okay,
no, it's not.
How's it different?
Because if we're dealing in fantasy land here, so I preface everything I'm saying with I don't believe any of this is real.
Right.
But I just want to go to what makes a good story, what makes the best story in the history of wrestling or an arc, and what doesn't. If this was something that was conceived initially back when CM Punk first went off on Tony Khan and had his meltdown when, his issues with the Bucks and whoever else he had issues with, if that was all a work and this is the result of it, I'm in. I'll put it over as the best story ever been told. But if this is just making chicken salad out of chicken shit, it doesn't qualify as a story or an arc or a plan. It's just a Band-Aid and a much needed one. In terms of will it have the same effect, I disagree. I think if it were to be revealed, CM Punk, you're going to have a segment of the audience where definitely CM Punk fans are going to be overjoyed. I think you're going to hear a collective moan with everybody else, the other 75 or 50% of the audience, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Those who aren't dyed in the wool CM Punk fans. And by the way, based on the kind of stuff I see on social media, there's a lot more people that aren't CM Punk fans than are. The ones that are tend to be very vocal, but there's a lot of I think the audience is split. Maybe it's you're going to hear such a collective groan if it is, and neither one of us think it will be.
Okay, I respect Bully Ray. He's one of the few reasons why I like Busted Open. I mean, Dave LaGreca could get a little nauseating at times. I will admit that. Not disrespect to his as a human being or anything like that, but his takes could be much to be desired at times. I respect Bully, and I can understand the premise of being like, okay, CM Punk carried around this whole stigma of him being the real world champion, and him being the one behind the devil mask, and long term booking and yada yada. But to even throw out the idea of it being called sheer genius, or even toss out the hypothetical that this could be the greatest storyline in the history of professional wrestling, is as Eric Bischoff said, pure and utter bullshit. And I'm saying that as one of the biggest CM Punk fans out there. Here's the difference between me as a Punk fan and other media members that are Punk fans. I am okay with calling out what needs to be called out about the situation. I don't have horse blinders over the fact that CM Punk's my favorite wrestler. So let me get this right. We're going to have the biggest storyline in the history of professional wrestling while trying to justify a third CM Punk return and run in AEW. You lost your momentum when he made his initial debut at the United Center at the first dance. Then the second time he comes back in Collision, I was at the show, the first episode of Collision. Not even 3 months later, he gets released from the company. Now you're trying to convince me because he's walking around with MJF's devil mask while MJF's in the middle of a feud with Jay White and the fucking crony squad in a feud nobody gives two shits about. Literally, the premise of the whole MJF feud with Jay White is that Jay White's a bully. They're going to play keep away like we're in fucking 6th grade, and they're bullying around MJF. Wow. Riveting fucking shit. So now you're going to convince me that we have the greatest storyline in the history of professional wrestling if CM Punk is the guy under disguise as the devil. Well, you guys know how I feel about the word if. If my mother had balls, she'd be my father. She doesn't, so she's not. I'm saying this as a Punk fan. You're going to try to convince people and fans out there who are already sick of the nonsense and the drama that come from him. You're going to try to convince him, just because he comes up with the devil mask, that we're going to finally get the CM Punk run in AEW that we were supposed to see for the last 2.5 fucking years. Am I putting a fucking blind eye? Am I becoming fucking Ray Charles here? What's going on here? A lot of people, when it comes to AEW, they come up with these fantasy booking ideas. Oh, if this happens, it's going to be a game-changing thing for AEW. Oh my God, we're going to have the Monday Night Wars again. Oh, Sasha Banks is going to show up in AEW. Oh, we're going to have competition. Get the fuck out of here. That's almost as insane as me as a Chicago Bears fan thinking that the Bears are going to be a good franchise 5 years from now. I'd be lying to myself, just like all of you who are convincing yourself that CM Punk coming back to AEW would be the greatest storyline in the history of professional wrestling. Listen to the words that are coming out of your mouths. Take a step back and understand how stupid that is. Literally, this guy has brought bad press to your organization where people authentically look at you as a fucking clown show. And now you're going to convince yourself because he's disguised and stole MJF's precious devil mask, which is supposed to be originally a ploy for him for the bidding war of 2024. It's all fucking complicated. And at the end of the day, does it fucking matter whether or not CM Punk's the devil or not? Greatest storyline in the history of professional wrestling? My ass. my ass. Oh, CM Punk is back in AEW for the third time. I'm sure nothing's going to go wrong here, right? Absolutely nothing's going to happen here. They're so convinced that Tony Khan's this creative genius. After all the shit that we've been watching for especially the last year and a half, we're all going to convince ourselves that Tony Khan's a booking genius because CM Punk is under the devil mask. Please get drug tested now. And I'm like flabbergasted by that notion. And I'm a Punk guy, and this is not even a whole like, oh, I would rather see Punk in WWE type of situation. But literally, for those who've been following along with AEW for the last 2 or 3 years or so, since this dude's come back, you mean to tell me now things are going to be okay with the locker room? We're not going to hear anything about the Elite linking stuff to Meltzer and Keller and your mother's sister and your aunt's ass. Like, oh man, the struggle is real. Oh man. Shout out to Sam. I don't know if you're still watching this, brother, but I hope you appreciated that rant. In no premise, because the fact that come up with a devil mess is this, the greatest storyline in the history of wrestling. Oh, all right, keep telling yourself that. Mind you, you know who realistically is going to be the devil? Brett says it's not CM Punk. He's too tall to be CM Punk. That may be true, Brett. But my whole point is with this whole devil storyline, does it really matter at the end of the day? Watch their show. There's nothing there. It's a TNA ripoff. Dixie Carter sued Tony Khan for gimmick infringement. There's nothing unique about AEW at this present moment. And justifying a third return for CM Punk in over a 2-year span. Oh, now we're going to get the CM Punk run that we're supposed to see this entire time. While working the boys in the locker room, convincing them that, oh, the issues in our locker room is gone. CM Punk is gone. We're not going to have any more drama. Oh my God, we're going to get back to normalcy. We're going to have, what did Bully Ray say? It's going to be a shot in the arm. Where was the shot in the arm after he returned and for the initial episode for Collision? Where's this spark that we're going to reunite the Monday Night Wars? Because this idea of CM Punk and AEW is going to be the catalyst of that. I'm mentioning all this stuff as CM Punk's biggest fan and telling you with my 2 eyes, watching that product, you mean to tell me that fucking cokehead Tony Khan is going to write down the greatest storyline in history because CM Punk is back at AEW for the 3rd time in a fucking 2-year calendar span? Come on. That's not me being a hater. That's me being realistic. You all need to be drug tested. If anything, Jack Perry is going to be the devil. And regardless of who the devil is at the end of the day, it's going to underwhelm. Just like, oh, we have the biggest signing in the history of wrestling. It's Christian Cage. Come on down. Oh, Big Show is going to help Chris Jericho and Kenny Olivier to fight the Don Fallis family. It's just nonsense. I just don't get it, man. I don't. It's not a knock on Punk either, but a lot of you just can't admit to yourself that him and AEW just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You're unwilling to admit that to yourselves. Speaking of MJF, he kicked off last night's Dynamite episode with Daniel Garcia. MJF once again has a world title match. world title defense on Dynamite on TBS without his title because we got to play keep away with the title. So stupid. So you have MJF retain over Daniel Garcia. He made him tap out to the salty earth. Solid match. I'm not the biggest Daniel Garcia fan in the world, but I thought it was pretty decent for my opinion. And then so they're continuing this trend where MJF has a gazillion people coming after him for the title. You got Samoa Joe, Jay White, Wardlow, all these people are gunning after MJF and his world championship. Let's see what else happened on the Mud Show that I should mention here. Oh, yes. Can we please stop with the Ring of Honor crap on TBS? Now, if you're going to tell me that you're going to have Samoa Joe and Keith Lee fight each other on free TV, no problem. No harm, no foul. Whether it's this or the squash match with the Guns and the Bollywood Boys, because we got to hype up a Ring of Honor World Tag Team title match that's taking place on the fucking pre-show of Full Gear. Again, I ask anybody here in 2023, do any of you give two shits about Ring of Honor? And why is it being such an emphasis on your flagship show on TBS? Like, seriously, at what point do we get to where a person calls David Zaslav, who's like the chief of content creation in for Warner Discovery? Hey, Mr. Zaslav, Nick Khan is on line number 2. You want to talk to him? We're getting close to the point where Monday Night Raw is going to be going to TBS at this rate, man. Oh, man. Enough of the Ring of Honor stuff. If you want to do that, keep that shit on the Ring of Honor show on Honor Club, or use that as a promotional tool on Rampage if anybody still watches that show. But you have your flagship show, and like every other week, it's like 45% of the show has something to do with Ring of Honor. I love Bobby Cruz, but enough of the Ring of Honor shit on Dynamite. Can I watch an AEW show? Let me ask you this question. What is an AEW show? Literally, what is an AEW show? I'm listening to shows this week where they're talking about, oh man, AEW is losing their identity. When did they ever have one? Ay. We had a good match with Swerve Strickland and Pentagon Jr. I like the match. No harm, no foul there. I thought it was pretty decent, so that was pretty cool. Swerve will have his match with Hangman Page. I gotta say though, that Deadeye that he used to call the rite of passage, but Hangman Page does the Deadeye off the ramp through a table on the side of the stage. That was pretty nasty. So I thought that was pretty cool. What else? Oh yes. Let's continue on with the positivity trend here really quick. Julia Hart, there's two people I want to give a shout out to, both our ladies. Julia Hart is, I think, outside of Britt Baker, I think right now Julia Hart's my favorite female character in AEW. She's doing fantastic work, obviously. She's improved a lot since the days I was covering her work on AEW Dark and Elevation. She's got a lot better. I will say that Julia Hart has got a lot better, and her character is good. The faction's good. She's doing some good stuff, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, and I would recommend her becoming the TBS champion sometime soon. You know, she's doing some good stuff, and she's making a name for herself, and she's getting better. I thought the match she had with Red Velvet last night was pretty decent. You know, there wasn't too much to write home from Dynamite last night. They had, they made us a match for Full Gear, right? It's Kenny Olivier and Chris Jericho against the Young Bucks. What the fuck are we doing here? Oh, Kenny, what happened, man? I thought you were our friend. You're here hanging out with a scumbag. As if everybody doesn't know that Chris Jericho's a scumbag. Like, 1 second, Kenny, Olivia, and Jericho are in a death feud with the Don Fowles family. Next second, they have a random ass tag team match on Full Gear. Now, I'll give it credit. At least there's something on the line. There's some stakes attached to it, but we're going to manufacture friend beef now. And now they address the issue on TV that Jim Cornette, Brian Last, everybody with a fucking brain cell could see for the last 4 years or so that the Young Bucks are insecure twats. So now you have Kenny Olivier calling them basically insecure twats and spoiled brats and stuff like that. And that's the premise of now why we must have this tag team match, because the Bucks don't like Chris Jericho. You got 3 people that I could give 2 shits whether on TV or not, and Kenny Omega. So, will the match be good? Yeah, the match would be fine, but the premise of it is stupid. I don't care about the feud. This match should not be happening in the first place. And the fact that we need Kenny stuck in a tag team with Chris Jericho is also stupid as well. But hey, Tony Khan is a creative genius. Oh, let's have Punk back as the devil, as the devil. That's gonna be the greatest storyline in the history of professional wrestling. Keep telling yourself that. So, the other person I want to give some praise to is Renee Paquette. It's kind of a joke when they have like Officer Bar Brady or Skiavone doing backstage interviews. No, or even RJ City. Nobody should be doing interviews on that show besides Renee Young. That's it. She's the best in the world at what she does in that field. She's great to look at, obviously. She's good. She conducts good interviews. She helps out with character development throughout those interviews as well. Renee is one of the few good things that I look forward to when it comes to AEW each week. And she deserves all the flowers and praise that comes her way because she's just that damn good at what she does. So I wanted to acknowledge Renee Paquette. The main event of Dynamite this week was Jay White against Mark Briscoe. Don't mind seeing Mark Briscoe on my TV. Would like to see more of him. But again, for me, and I'm being consistent with this. It's not me being a hater. I've been consistent with this feud, especially since it started. Dude, Full Gear can't come quick enough. Stop with this MJF Jay White nonsense. Bullet Club Gold is not helping Jay White. It's just not. It's just not. If we have to rely to elementary school tactics to get heat on him and him walking around as if he is a champion and the bang bang bell and it's just corny. I just don't care. I'm supposed to boo Jay White and have hate for the guy because he's masquerading around as a champion. It's like this whole stuff with MJF is all over the place. He can't keep his mind on one direction. 1 second he's defending tag titles. The next second he's with Jay White. The next second it's with Samoa Joe. Then there's the Adam Cole factor. Then there's Roderick Strong. And then there's your mother's ass. And then it's Alicia Toots Poutine Pie. And the list goes on and on and on. Like, MJF is better as a heel. That's what I'm trying to explain here. We need to get back to the whole bidding war of 2024 because this sympathetic babyface stuff just needs to stop. And it sucks that Adam Cole got injured, but can we figure out who the devil is? Can we move on and get back to the real MJF? That's all I'm asking for. So, as we always wrap up these segments, I always do a particular thing here when it comes to these AEW segments, and that it's called the Excrement impression. And this is my tribute, if you will, to the one and only Excalibur. So, all right, let's see what we got on the docket this week, boys and girls. Here we go. Coming to you live tomorrow night on TNT is another stellar edition of AEW Rampage. And guess what, folks? It's live. we have FTR taking on the team of Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo. Then coming up this Saturday, live on Collision, it's Russian Derlisico of LFI taking on the Workhorsemen. Then coming up on Sunday, November 18th, live from the Fabulous Kid Forum in Inglewood, California, it's AEW Full Gear. Here's your matches. On the 0 Hour Show, it's MJF defending his Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles on the line against the Guns. From there, we have Garcia putting her AEW Women's World Championship on the line against Timeless Tony Storm. From there, it's a trio match, which features Sting, Darby Allin, and Alan Copeland, taking on the TNT champion Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. Next, we have a rematch from All Out. It's Orange Cassidy putting his AEW International Championship on the line against Jon Moxley. We have the grudge match, Hangman Page against Swerve Strickland. And coming up, just announced this past Wednesday night on Dynamite, it's the tag team match of the Golden Jets, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho taking on the Young Bucks. If the Golden Jets win, the Young Bucks must relinquish their AEW World Tag Team title opportunity. If the Bucks win, the Golden Jets must disband as a team. And our main event for the AEW World Championship is MJF against Switchblade Jay White. Get all your information right now at allreadwrestling.com and get all your tickets right now at AEWTIX.com. That's AEWTIX.com. Woo! I just got all that done there. Oh boy. Let me take a swig of water for that. Holy moly. I don't know how he does that. All right. On that note, folks, I pose a question each and every single week, man. What the hell is wrong with AEW? Lord, help me, please. Help me with the sanity that people think that Tony Khan is good at his job.
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Everything.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
All right, folks. That concludes What the Hell's Wrong with AEW. Sam, appreciate you, man. Yes. More agua, the better, man. By the way, I recommend folks to check out the rant that I did on the whole hypothetical fancy booking idea that CM Punk is gonna be the shot in the arm the third time around of him being the savior for AEW. That's just fucking nonsense. You're lying to yourself. What's more reliable, CM Punk being a success in AEW or the Bears finding a fucking quarterback? You tell me, clowns. All right. Brett said, I'd rather watch YouTube while watch AEW. That's funny. Okay. Well, when we come back, we'll recap what happened this week at WWE. I'll do my review for the Crown Jewel show that happened in Saudi Arabia. Get into what happened on Raw and SmackDown this week as we're on the road to War Games and a new network for NXT. Hear more about it in just a couple seconds right here on the Hoots Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 386 of the Hoots Podcast. Like it says here on the screen, 14 more episodes away from episode 400. Again, I appreciate you guys rocking with me for this journey and continue to hang out with us each and every single week. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys still care about this podcast. So for those who are watching live or listening to the podcast, please do me a favor, especially on YouTube, like this video and smash our subscribe button. And if you listen to the audio version of the podcast where you don't want to see this bug, you can subscribe to the podcast on the following platforms: Spotify, what? Google Play, what? The Odyssey app, what? Pandora, what? iHeartRadio, what? Just type in Hoots Podcast. It comes to you free of charge, and you can be part of the crew. All right, let's talk about what happened this week in WWE. Before we get into Raw and SmackDown, I should start off with the Crown Jewel review, as it is the title of this week's episode. This segment, I'm going to try my best to not make it long because I don't want this podcast to be too long this week. Let's start off with Crown Jewel. You know, a lot of people have their perspectives on the show as a whole, the concepts behind it, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer on how you feel collectively on Crown Jewel as a event or a thing or the relationship that WWE has with Saudi Arabia. As I've always said, I don't think countries should be precluded from having wrestling shows. But if you feel like it's just a glorified house show or something that you think it's skippable, more power to you. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer when it comes to that. But as I watch the show, is this a premium live event that I'm gonna be like, oh, I need to watch a gazillion times? Is this one of the best shows of the year? No, but I would not say what I saw and covered on Saturday afternoon was not horrible or bad or anything like that. Was it predictable? That's up to your discretion. If you're going out and trying to go on the voyage and seeing what Sean Ross has to say about spoilers and stuff like that, and Meltzer and Alvarez, then you have yourself to blame. I mean, you can watch with your two eyes and let that be the source and tell you what's predictable or not. And if that is predictable, let the match tell you whether it's good or not. That's how I look at it. But I thought this show was effective in its own ways. We do have a new champion. Logan Paul is the new United States champion. He defeated Rey Mysterio in a very good match. I could put Logan Paul over as many times as I want every time he has a match, but the guy just gets better, man. He's just a natural in what he does in the ring. When it comes to WWE, literally, that is his field that he's probably been destined to do his entire life, and he's just good at what he does. He's not supposed to be everybody's cup of tea, but he's damn good. And for a guy to have only 8 matches and to be a celebrity and all that, he's just as good as guys who are touted as the best in the world. I won't say that Logan Paul is a top 10 wrestler or anything like that, but he's damn good at what he does for a celebrity. The guy's a phenomenal athlete. There's something that went on during the match which I thought was kind of interesting, and I think they'll probably address it as the weeks go by. But, you know, Logan Paul had one of his cronies at ringside trying to, you know, bring in brass knuckles, kind of the same thing that happened at SummerSlam in this match with Ricochet. And then Santos Escobar runs the crony off, and then this you guys saw this too. For those who watched the show on Saturday, he leaves the brass knuckles on the apron. So will that be turned into, oh, Ray is calling out Santos for having being in the hand of having Paul defeat Ray and taking the United States title away from the LWO? Will Ray in his own way blame Santos for what happened on Saturday? We'll have to see. Tensions have been brewing, and we all remember that Ray stole Santos' opportunity for the United States Championship match with Austin Theory back a few months ago. So, you know, there's tea leaves there. We got to see what happens. But, you know, as Brett mentioned here, very, very important point that he said there that I totally agree and should be commended on for Logan's Paul. On Logan's parts, as I was trying to say. But for a guy with that much lack of an experience to be in a position to save Rey Mysterio from a serious injury like that was going on for that springboard move that Rey was going for. That's instincts, man. And that's a credit to him in the industry for Logan for what he did for Rey at that moment. That didn't look easy. Kind of did like a deadlift pickup into a power slam. Wrestling, you got to take care of each other's bodies. That's the big thing when it comes to these matches and wrestling in general. You got to look out for your opponents and stuff like that. And not the goal. The intention is not to hurt people. So I have the utmost respect for Logan Paul for what he does, and especially for having the instincts to be the way he went about saving Rey from what could have been a serious injury on Saturday. So all props and credit go out to Logan Paul. Like I said, I thought the show was good. I wouldn't say this Crown Jewel show was great or something must see, but we had good matches on the show. Cody and Damian Priest was a fantastic match. Cody and we'll get to Cody and Judgment Day in a little bit too, because a little later, because we got to talk about War Games. But Cody and Damian Priest, I thought was a solid match. If you want to say the low point of the show was the women's 5-way match, I can understand that. There's parts of this crowd from Saudi Arabia that were just sitting on their hands for some of the matches. Not a bad effort from the ladies, but you can tell the crowd didn't really care much. Rhea Ripley retained with an avalanche riptide into Shayna Baszler. We had what else? Oh, the Miz TV segment that turned into the Grayson Waller effect. I thought I didn't really care for it that much, to be honest with you. It was what it was. You got to give people time to regather their breath after a hot match and stuff like that. So I understand why they put that there. Io Sky retained her WWE Women's title over Bianca Belair with help from the returning Kairi Sane. It was nice to see her. The last time I saw Kairi in the ring was when I covered Wrestle Kingdom early this year, when she took on Sasha Banks, the Shawn Michaels of women's wrestling, right? No, it was cool to see Kairi back, and a good tie-in when they mentioned on commentary that before she decided to leave WWE from a storyline point of view, it was Bayley and Sasha that were the reasons why Kairi had to leave the WWE. There was like a stipulation match, like a loser leaves town match, and Bayley was responsible for Kairi leaving. So how does that affect the dynamics and damage control and stuff like that? So I thought that was cool. It was cool to see Kairi back. I will say this: go out of your way to check out the Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre World Heavyweight Championship match, because that match was fucking awesome, man. Whether you think it's predictable or not, I wouldn't say that I was convinced that Drew was winning, but that part of that sequence where he did hit the Claymore on Seth, that was a good false finish there, and those guys beat the crap out of each other. That was a very, very good match to kick off the show. And Seth Rollins retains and still your World Heavyweight Champion, but that leaves things up in the air for Drew McIntyre. Is that the moment for him that's going to send him over the edge, if you will, of him turning into a heel? We'll have to see how that plays out. But from a transcript point of view, the Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins match was my favorite one to type out from Crown Jewel this past Saturday. I will say that for sure. Then we had the main event, and this should get very interesting here, because there's a lot of people who are still butthurt over the fact that Roman Reigns is still your undisputed WWE, uncontroverted, undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion, as defeated LA Knight. I don't want to hear shit about outside interference if you're a mark for the Bullet Club, NWO, Evolution, etc., etc. I don't want to hear that shit, because you're all hypocrites. I don't want to hear that as an asterisk as to why Roman's title reign is not good. Don't fault the guy for being a heel and doing his job when you wanted him to be that for so many years. Don't cry wolf here. You can't have your cake and eat it too here. You want him to be the heel? You want him to cheat? No, you want him to be a heel? Let him be a heel. Now, if you want to get into arguments about, oh, he never wins a match cleanly, well, here's the deal. Aren't you the same people? They're like, oh my God, Roman wins all the time. It's LOL. You got to make Roman look strong. You got to pick a lane, man. You got to pick a lane here. What is it? Do you want Roman to be a heel, or do you want him to be a baby face? We got to make up our minds here, folks. Now, if you want to get into debates about his schedule and the amount of times he defends or doesn't defend the championship, that's your deal. I'm not wasting my time on that because I understand how the industry works and I look at things from a bigger picture standpoint. And Roman Reigns is something that's not in professional wrestling these days, an attraction. And having Roman, you know, it's funny. MJF has defended the AEW World Title on TV. I don't know, maybe like, let's say 4 or 5 times in the last 2 months. If the intention was that just to prove a point because Roman Reigns doesn't defend the title, that's just a shitty business proposition because Roman Reigns, every time he's out there, it's a big fight feel. He's not having title matches just for the sake of having title matches on TV. Roman Reigns, when you watch him, people give a shit. Hell, they drew 1 million viewers on FS1. I know very few people who still watch FS1. It sure as hell ain't for that freaking Nimrod Skip Bayless. Now, maybe some people like the Colin Cowherd show. Whoever floats your boat. I'm not here to begrudge you. But my point is to say that Roman Reigns is not effective because he's not showing up or defending the title every other 3 weeks is bullshit. Look at the numbers. Look at the people in the buildings every time he shows up. I get it. A lot of you are still salty, and we'll keep regurgitating this topic till we get to WrestleMania 40. A lot of you are still salty over the fact that Cody Rhodes did not win at WrestleMania 39. The fact that it's November and we're still talking about it either furthers the point why that decision happened. And there's not one person that can convince me that this fickle fan base in WWE would not turn their back on Cody Rhodes or want to start calling for a heel turn 3 months into his title if he had won that title at WrestleMania 39. Nobody wants to have that conversation because people can't admit to themselves that they're fickle. So you're going to project your anger towards Roman Reigns because he's good at his fucking job and he's an attraction and people actually give a shit about his matches when it happens and care about his segments when he's there. But we're going to throw all the asterisks in the world. We're going to have Jim Valley pop off in the mouth. We got everybody and their mother making conspiracies, theories, and all this other bullshit. Look, just be upfront and say you don't like the guy. And that's okay too. But be consistent. Pick a lane, man. Do you want the guy to be a heel or not? If your only talking point is that he can't win matches on his own, he's a heel. He's not subjected to some rule where he has to win matches cleanly all the time. Is LA Knight buried? No. Is LA Knight never going to get a shot at a world championship? No. I mean, my God, man. I appreciate greatness because this dude's not going to be around that much longer. But if your only talking point is that he doesn't show up, man. I mean, were you keeping that same energy when Brock Lesnar was a champion? I'm just tired of the double standards with different angles when it comes to the conversation with Roman Reigns. We gotta pick a lane here. I don't care whether you are for his title reign, against his title reign, whatever the situation is, but can we pick a lane here? And to say that his title reign is not doing well for business is just nonsense. It's just not true. You could be the biggest Roman Reigns hater in the world, but you look at the metrics and the numbers and the feeling of him when he's on TV, it just debunks your myths, man. It is what it is. Now, I'm not one of these people that thinks that he has to break Hulk Hogan's record or Bruno Sammartino's, which I think would be pretty funny if he did break Bruno's record. But I get it. We're in a microwave society. Everything has to change. We gotta do this. There's a lot. And again, I get it. This is a serious issue, and I don't begrudge people who suffer from this. But we do live in an ADD culture, and I understand that. But as Roman Reigns said, and Paul Heyman has mentioned before in these press scrums, there, this is not McDonald's, man. You're not switching things just for the sake of changing it. So whether Cody gets his opportunity and finishes his story or not at WrestleMania 40, we'll see. I can see the bigger picture because I know when Roman Reigns is there, he does deliver business. But if you're knock on his title reigns because he cheats and he can't win a match without interference, you're kind of making a fool of yourself because you're the same person that wanted him to be a heel in the first place. All I'm saying is pick a lane, man. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw really quick. We had the announcement of War Games. War Games. Man, I know it's a bummer that William Regal was not able to come out there and make the announcement for himself. He's got to wait to 2024 to appear on television because that was the rules of the contract. Tony Khan would not allow him to be on WWE television for a calendar year after his Tony Khan put a 1-year non-compete thing for William Regal to not appear on WWE television until 2024. That's crazy, man. But Adam Pearce did make the announcement. We will have a War Games match at the Rosemont Horizon. It's going to be the Judgment Day taking on Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso at this moment. Who knows whether or not it'll turn into a 5-on-5. Will we have Bloodline involvement with it or not? We'll have to see. Does LA Knight get involved? Does Kevin Owens join the match? Does Jimmy and Solo find their way into this match? Does let's say like you have Finn, Priest, and Dominic, Jimmy, and Solo. That's 5. And then you got Cody, Jay, Sammy. You could do Kevin and LA Knight. You have different ways to make this a 5-on-5 match. I don't believe Seth Rollins will be in the match by the time we get to Survivor Series. One way or another, Drew McIntyre will get in his way, and I think Drew will get a rematch with Seth for the world title at Survivor Series. The new title, was displayed in Chicago. I think they want a world title match on Survivor Series since Roman Reigns will not be at Survivor Series this year. So you could I think Drew McIntyre will be a factor of having Seth Rollins out of that team. So you could put in Kevin Owens, you could put in LA Knight if you want. There's ways about it. And look, I'm curious to see what's going to happen tomorrow night on SmackDown because we all know about this like partnership with the Judgment Day and the Bloodline. How does that work? Does Paul Heyman have a say in it? Does Jimmy and Solo find their way into the match? There's a lot of different parameters out there, but I just don't think it's 100% that Seth Rollins will be in the War Games match because I think he'll have a rematch with Drew McIntyre. So we'll have to see. Who knows? Maybe Drew McIntyre involves himself in the War Games match where it's just It's Priest, Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Jamie McDonough, and Drew McIntyre. By the way, JD McDonough, any relation to John McDonough, former guy with the Blackhawks? Any relation there? Just trying to figure that out. So I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. You know, there's ways to get about it. It's the right choice. It's the right people in the War Games match. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a cool environment having the War Games back at the Rosemont Horizon. It was there for that XC Takeover show before Survivor Series 2019. So it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. You know, they had this massive Pier 6 brawl that was going on in the main event of Raw this week, and Adam Pearce is like, I had enough. You want to play games? He's doing the whole spiel. I thought Pearce did a good job making that announcement for War Games. Some people like Adam Pearce. I think he's done a good job as an on-screen authority figure. It's not for everybody. It's definitely been overdone over the years, but I thought Adam Pearce did a good job with that announcement on Monday. I should mention there was a couple of matches that I thought were pretty decent. The DIY match with the Creed brothers was pretty cool, and the Fatal 4-Way with Miz, Ricochet, Bronson Reed, and Ivar. That match was pretty dope as well. Miz will be taking on Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. You know, I think we could see something interesting here. I don't know what it is for Gunther. Is it a test to take on Miz to see if Gunther can have a barn burner with Miz? I certainly think they'll have a good match with each other. I can understand why people would want to see Chad Gable instead of Miz in this opportunity, but you know, Miz does have a lot of history with that Intercontinental Championship, and it would just make sense with the fact that Gunther's having this title reign that he's having right now. So why not have Gunther have this banger of a match with one of the best IC champions of all time? And, you know, excuse me, this whole thing with Miz this year in 2023 has been about, you know, people putting respect on this thing. That's been his whole spiel. This whole year, he's been complaining to people, hey, you need to put respect on my name. And people are chanting tiny balls at him and stuff like that. What better way to get respect put on your name than getting your chest carved into hamburger meat at the Rosemont Horizon? I think the people in Chicago would give Miz a standing ovation. You know, I'm not saying that you're going to have this whole Gunther and Sheamus Clash of the Castle moment at Survivor Series, but, you know, Miz could get his flowers too in this moment. So now, again, was this my first pick for Gunther to fight at Survivor Series? No. But I think with the history of Miz having with the IC title, taking on Gunther, I think you could do some good stuff there. I really do. So we'll have to see how the rest of the build goes for that match. There was a battle royal. Zoe Stark will be taking on Rhea Ripley at the show for the Women's World Championship. That should be a pretty solid match. I think the ladies will get a War Games match for the SmackDown side of it. You know, you're going to probably have Charlotte, Bianca, Asuka, and Shotzi against Kyrie, Damage Control, and then you can throw somebody else in there that we haven't mentioned yet. But you have your options there, you know. And like I mentioned, I think Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre will have a rematch at Survivor Series. The people of Chicago will eat up that match for sure. And then who knows? I don't know if we're gonna have like 6 or 7 matches on the show because you got War Games. My best guess is probably maybe 5 or 6 at the most. But you know, you got Gunther and Miz. You got the women's title match. You got 2 War Games matches. I mentioned Seth and Drew. Who knows? Maybe you either have, let's say you have, maybe you do a rematch with Logan and Ray at Survivor Series, or Logan against Santos Escobar. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, just throwing out ideas. But Sooner or later, we'll get closer to Survivor Series War Games at the Rosemont Horizon. I'm bummed that I won't get to be there. You know, I wish there was an opportunity where I could just do the article and the transcript at the show. Like, I don't even have to be part of like the whole press scrum. Like, I just want to be there and just do the article for there. But you know, it is what it is. Allstate Arena, I guess, just doesn't allow you to do articles during shows there, which is, I don't know. It's funny to see they're having a press scrum at the show for Survivor Series, but you won't let people do articles in the media section of your arena. It's just weird. It is just weird. All right. Before we get to our next segment, I do want to mention this really quick because this was some big news that dropped the other day. We have NXT moving to the CW in the fall of 2024. This is big news for NXT because there's been a lot of people that said that this 2.0 brand is not profitable and nobody really cares about it. This is a big deal for NXT to go on its own separate network in this sense in the fall of 2024. They're getting double the money that they're getting from USA Network in this deal. You know, this is also very interesting times for CW and wrestling because they recently announced that they were going to do business with the NWA. But for those that didn't know, the NWA shows would probably be airing at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This wasn't some big major announcement under the CW brand like NXT will be now. It kind of caught me by surprise because we all know this whole TV rights negotiation thing that's going on right now with WWE. Where does the future of Raw stand? You know, SmackDown is going to USA next year. So this news caught me by surprise, and there's a lot of guessing of what's going to happen next for Monday Night Raw. Will it be still on USA? That's probably my guess. I know a lot of people are mentioning FX or possibly something on a Warner network or something like that. I don't know, man. It's very interesting, but for the NXT brand itself to be on a separate network like that, I think that's a big deal. It is, because if you look at the numbers that they're drawing television wise, they're right there neck and neck with Dynamite each week. And that's a testament to Shawn Michaels and the work that a lot of the guys down there are putting the work in there for the NXT brand. So it's pretty cool to see. So that, folks, is what happened this week in WWE. We got another segment here that we got to hear on the podcast before we get into the Back Porch Q&A session. It's something that I look forward to doing each and every single week because it's just fun and it's cool to nominate CLAHNs. And boy, are there a lot of CLAHNs out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time once again to nominate a new winner of the CLAHN of the Week.
I'm not CLAHN. CLAHN. You're big CLAHN. CLAHN.
One more time.
I'm not CLAHN. You're big CLAHN.
I'm open to suggestions for the CLAHN of the Week. This is a segment that we do each and every single week here on the Hoots Podcast where we crown a winner for somebody who carries themselves in a jackassy manner and just complete another CLAHN. Now, last week I gave the award to Mike Lombardi, which is not hard to do because that guy is probably the biggest CLAHN in all of NFL media out there. So with that being said, one thing you don't want to be is a CLAHN for sure. My pick for the CLAHN of the Week this week goes out to Billy Corgan in the NWA. I haven't really had a chance to talk about this, but this is news. If you know, you know. This is something that's been roaming around the Twitterverse over the last couple of days. So recently, the NWA had a pay-per-view And during the show, Father James Mitchell was shown on camera, live on pay-per-view, snorting cocaine with people surrounding him in the crowd. And these clans have a deal in place to have NWA air on the CW. And you're getting exposed for that on pay-per-view right before you're supposed to start airing your shows on the network like that and having TV distribution where you're not just, tied down to being just on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. But what the fuck are we doing, man? Like, seriously, Billy, like, what the fuck? Cocaine on live pay-per-view? Come on, man. And it's not some moral high ground or high horse thing for me, because like I get it. I'm straight edge. I don't do drugs and stuff like that. Again, but what do I talk about? What do I talk about here in the podcast each week? Have some fucking self-awareness, man. If you're getting in the opportunity where you're finally getting some bigger distribution outside being on YouTube, why the fuck would you have yourself in a position where you have one of your talents literally doing drugs on a live pay-per-view? It's just dumb. Sam says the Chicago White Sox are my clown of the week. Well, Sam, all of our sports teams in Chicago are clowns of the week. They're clowns of the month, clowns of the year, clowns of the century. Chicago sports is the worst thing on God's green earth. It just is. It's amazing to me how inept the city is on all fronts, on every organization for different reasons. Bulls, clowns. White Sox, ultra clowns. Bears, don't even get me started. We all know the answer to that. I want to be happy for the Cubs, nice little smooth, interesting move there with Craig Counsell the other day. But even then, is Jed and Tom Ricketts going to put their big boy pants on and go after Ohtani? We'll have to see. As Catman would say, will the Cubs be settlers? We'll have to see. Chicago sports all around are clowns 24/7, 365. Hashtag we stinks. Hashtag we the ass. Hashtag why do we even bother? I'm recording the show with you guys right now on a Thursday night. The Bears are on Thursday Night Football. I'm not even watching the game right now. I don't even know what the score is. So, man, it's every aspect of sports in this city sucks. Even the radio stations here in the city suck. It's just bad. Not good. All right, really quick, let me go through my picks for the Week 10 of the NFL coming up on Sunday. In Germany, the Colts are playing the Patriots. I have the Colts winning that one. The Patriots are a complete and utter dumpster fire. I have the Jets beating the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. I got the Saints over the Vikings. Hopefully the Steelers blow out the Green Bay Packers. Got the Bucks over the Titans. 49ers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bengals over Texans. Chargers over the Lions. Ravens over the Browns. Falcons over the Cardinals. I know Kyler Murray's back, but the Cardinals just suck. Seattle over the Commanders. Bills over the Broncos. And the Cowboys over the Giants. I'm going to be honest, folks. I think this may be the worst slate of football games this entire season for the NFL. There's very few to none games that I'm looking forward to on Sunday. And I'm a big red zone guy. None of these games interest me at all. Seattle, Washington, Look at this shit. The Bills and Broncos on Monday Night Football. Cowgirls against the Giants. Falcons, Cardinals. Maybe the Lions and Chargers will be okay. Maybe same thing with the Niners and Jaguars, but this slate just sucks. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm probably gonna be sleeping halfway through before halftime on the Red Zone. 7 hours of commercial-free football starts now. Hey, I do love me some Red Zone though. Scott Hansen's the man. 10-9, Sam. Oh man. We stinks. all we can get is freaking field goals against the Panthers. Hell, the Colts beat the Panthers in their own stadium last week. What the hell's going on out there? Bears, you know what you need to do? You need to pick them up and put them down. Pick them up and put them down. I'm going to put it here in the comment section. Pick them up and put them down. Yeah, there you go. Put it right there. Pick him up and put him down. I'm talking to you, Jack Sanborn. I'm not ripping Jack Sanborn. I'm a fan of his. He's pretty good. Pick him up and put him down. All right. We're going to take one more break here. When we come back, we're going to get to the main event segment of the podcast this week, which is the Back Porch Q&A segment here on the Hoots Podcast. So for those watching live, you can drop in some questions for the podcast as well, and we'll be back in just a couple moments right here. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. One more segment to do here. It's time for the Back Porch Q&A session here on the Hoots Podcast. As always, if you have a question for you can hit me up on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. These questions can go about anything, life, relationships, anything you want to know about me, wrestling, sports, whatever's on your mind. No questions off limits here on the podcast at Hoots. All right. So let's start off as we usually do with the good brother Chris Zaletta at XTeamZaletta24X on Twitter. Throw up the X for Chris. Chris says here, to start out the podcast, what up, Oos? Here's a question for the Q&A this week. Which version do you prefer? Is the current character bigger than his last? Isaiah, Scott, or Swerve? Neither. I like Killshot more in Lucha Underground. There you go. That's my answer. If you're one of these top wide receivers, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, etc., looking for a new situation at some point, and some of your options are teaming with one of these young quarterbacks who out of these quarterbacks, out of Will Levis, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Anthony Richardson would be the option. It's early, but I'm going to go with CJ Stroud. He's doing pretty good down there in Texas for Houston. Sam got a question here. Is Justin Fields' career in Chicago over after this season? That is a hashtag shot. Yes, his career is over in Chicago. We could just put the ribbon on the bow on that. That'll be enough, as Hoodie would say on the show. It's unfortunate because I'm a fan of Justin. I am a fan of Justin. I think he's got a raw deal here, but you know the nature of the beast when it comes to the city and the beat, the Bears media beat crew are just gonna run that dude out of the city. So the Bears, out of all teams I've ever seen in my life, are more peer pressured by the beat reporters than any team I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know. Maybe the Bears will look at that as a consolation prize to the media by letting Justin go or not picking up his fifth-year option. Unless something miraculously changes where he comes back next week and he's a world beater, I think his run here is done, which is going to be unfortunate because it's gonna be another situation just like it was with Mitch. So it sucks, but yeah, shot to Justin's run here being over. Chris, to your question again, I just think it's gonna be CJ Stroud. He's the best one that I've seen so far. Out of the guys you mentioned there. With Ronda Rousey being a major staple to the first Evolution, do you think Evolution 2 ever takes place, and can it be just as successful as the first one? Man, that's an interesting question. I think it could happen. Will it be successful as the first one? Well, that depends on the people actually putting money where their mouth is. I'm all for women's wrestling. I'm not against women's wrestling, but for the same people who cry for an Evolution 2 need to put money where their mouth is and pay for the show and go to the show and attend the show. Sell out an arena. If you're all about women's wrestling getting more of a push and more of an emphasis on these shows, put your money where your mouth is. I think it'd be cool if they did an Evolution 2, but you got to put your money where your mouth is. Unfortunately, Evolution, the first show, just did not draw well enough on pay-per-view. So we'll have to see. I think it would be good for the ladies. Again, it's not a sexist thing for me. This is more of a put up or shut up time for the fans out there that keep clamoring for this Evolution show to happen. Put your money where your mouth is. It's just simple as that. Do you think the IWGP IC title comes back? Yes, it should have been gone in the first place. That's my answer to that. You can thank Kota Ibushi for that, by the way. What a dumb concept to do the whole Golden Rush thing, and that IC title had some merit, and they should never got rid of it in the first place. Do you think, with War Games announced for Raw side, what takes place on the SmackDown side? I think that the women for SmackDown with like Damage Control and Kyrie will be taking on Charlotte, Bianca, Asuka, and Shotzi. That would be my guess for that match. Does Trick and Mello story go all the way into Mania weekend? Yes, it will. I think these guys find their way into that whole NXT Deadline Iron Survivor Challenge match. They'll cost each other the match, and then they'll get into their feud going into Stand and Deliver. So, yes, that will go into WrestleMania weekend for sure. All right, last question here for Chris. He says, with Kairi Sane back and now standing with Io Sky, what do you think happens with Damage Control? Is Bayley out? Could there be new members that replace Bayley and Kai? And could the final boss, Miko Satomura, be a new member? Man, those are all good questions there. Yes, I do think Bayley is on her way out of the group, and I think it's long overdue for her to return to being a good guy or a baby face, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm not really sure yet about Miko Satomura because I don't know what it is, whether she wants to stay in the States or not. I don't know that whole situation. But yes, I do believe Bayley will be given the boot to getting the boot out of Damage Control. AHT out. All right, thank you, Chris, for the questions this week, man. I appreciate you, brother. All right, the last set of questions this week comes from the good brother Mike Rubio at Main Event Swerve. He says, "What up, Oos? I saw our friend Chris mention the football question, so that was a perfect reminder to join the back porch and get some in myself. What is the most intriguing part of the Panthers-Bears game tonight?" Well, the time the final whistle blows and the game's over. This game is a crapshoot. This game is more about, let's see who has the advantage going into the draft next year. So not much on the field, my man, but more the result more than anything. The NFL is wide open except for the Chiefs and Eagles. So if the records hold, who takes on the Chiefs and the Eagles in the AFC and NFC championship games at this point? I think the Ravens have a good shot at taking on the Chiefs in the AFC title game. As far as the NFC, my guess is going to be the 49ers again. That's probably my best guess there. Next question there. Well, also, what do you think of Kirk Herbstreit on Thursday Night Football? Is he the best color commentator in football, or is there better? I like Herbie. I think he does a good job. I'm not a big college football fan, so I know he does the college game stuff with Pat McAfee. I don't really get to catch the games he calls for college football, but I do hear him with Al Michaels, and I think he does a decent job. Would I call him the best color commentator? Probably not. I'd probably stick with Troy Aikman if that was my pick, but um, no, I'll say this: Kirk Herbstreit is 100 times better than Chris Collinsworth. I'll just say that. How would you rate Deion Sanders coaching Colorado football this season? Is the team worth the hype package? Yes, I think he's done a good job. Only the momentum is you can only go up from here with Deion, and I think he's done a good job there running the team down there in Boulder, Colorado. All right. Is it just me or college games more fun than the NFL ones this season? Again, I'm the wrong person to ask it because I'm not a college football fan, but yeah, I will say that the entertainment value from the NFL has not been there yet for me this season. It's not just because my Bears are a dumpster fire. You know, everybody knows that and their mother. But I don't know. The games have just not been interesting to me, and I think Sunday Night Football is one of the most boring things on television these days. I can't make it past Sunday Night Football. I just can't do it. All right, let's continue on here. Congrats to Lola Vice making a splash in the NXT Breakout Tournament, but did the bracket seem a bit predictable to you? No. I thought it went the way it should have went the entire time. And you can't, when you have undeniable talent like that, I don't think predictability or unpredictability should really play a factor to it. I think the right person and the right people made it to the finals, and I thought the right person won the tournament. So, no, I don't look at it as a situation where it's too predictable. What do you think of Vic Jones's work on NXT? Can you see him taking a Raw or SmackDown lead commentary role? I'm a fan of Vic Joseph. I don't know why he always tries to pick fights on air with Booker T or any color commentator that he has with him. I don't know. It's kind of a strange method in how he goes about his business. But I will say that I think he does a good job, and I think that Vic should have an opportunity to do Raw or SmackDown. I think it's long overdue if you're asking. If we're being honest here. All right, got another question here for Sam. He says, would you want to see Brock Lesnar back in WWE at some point? Absolutely. Never opposed to seeing Brock Lesnar on my TV screen. Absolutely. Now, who he fights, that's another story. You can go a little different avenues there. You could have, maybe you could have Brock against Gunther. You could have Brock against Sammy. You could have Brock against maybe McIntyre as a heel. You have options there. But yes, I wouldn't mind seeing Brock Lesnar back for sure. That's a good question, Sam. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, what happened? The Bears score a touchdown? Did the Bears score a touchdown? Let's see what happened here. Oh, wow. Deontay Foreman scored a touchdown. Bears are up 16-10 here in the third quarter. Pretty cool there. All right. I only found out the Bears scored a touchdown because I got the ESPN. What do they call it? The game casting, where you see the moving stats and stuff. All right. I noticed a buzz from the mid card to the main title pitch. So realistically, who do you see breaking into the main event picture for a multi-month feud first? Trick Williams or Logan Paul? I'm just gonna go with Logan Paul. I like what Trick's been doing, but he needs more time on his own as a singles performer before we start putting him into main title or main event picture scenes. So I'm just gonna go with Logan Paul by default, but that's not a knock on Trick because I think he's doing good work. It's just not his time yet. Also, what is your sense about The Rock after the actor strike ends in the coming days? Is WrestleMania 40 a go? I think The Rock, one way or another, will make an appearance at WrestleMania 40, but at this moment, I don't think he'll have a match at WrestleMania 40. So no, I don't think The Rock will fight Roman at WrestleMania. So that's my prediction there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how tired of you of all the Travis Kelsey and Kelsey related info events online and on TV? Um, can 11 count? I don't know what's more annoying, Tony Khan on my TV screen or this stuff with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. Man, I had enough of it. And I'm a Taylor Swift fan. I dig the chick's music, and she's freaking hot. She's got good waterfall. You know what I mean? But I'm done with we don't need more attention on the Kansas City Chiefs with Brittany Mahomes and Jackson Mahomes, and I had enough of the Kansas City Chiefs already. So no, I don't care for Travis Kelsey. I will say though, I'm a fan of Jason Kelsey, his brother. I think he's a cool dude. His wife is freaking hot. She's a badass. By the way, you guys should go check out the Kelsey documentary on Amazon Prime. It's very, very good. But as far as Travis is concerned and the whole hit stuff of him and Taylor Swift, I'm way past beyond that. It's getting ridiculous at this point, to be honest with you. Let's continue on here. Saturday Night Live did a reincarnation of the Chicago Superfans bin. What would be talked about first the most? The Bulls or the good old the Bears? I don't know, man. What's good to talk about Chicago sports these days? Hey, man, Bob, I heard that the Cubs got the Craig Counsell from the Brewers, huh? Hey, man, those people up there in Wisconsin are going to be feel real salty this season. I'm telling you, man. The Cubs are going to go all the way this year. They're going to win the World Series. Ain't telling it right now. I'm going to call Captain J. Hood and tell him to take that. The Cubs. There you go. You know, they won't even talk about the Bulls. No shot. Speaking of SNL, did you catch any of Bad Bunny hosting at SNL? If so, what did you think? I did not get to see it. I don't really watch SNL that much these days. Was that really John Cena's last match, losing solo to Cole at Crown Jewel? I don't think so. No, I don't think so either. But I will say, I did forget to mention John Cena and Solo earlier in the show. But I thought that was really effective for Solo, and John Cena did right by the business by how that match played out at Crown Jewel on Saturday. So, no, I don't think that's John Cena's last match. But we'll see what's next for John Cena. All right. What's the streaming gem of a show or movie you found during the True Strikes going on? I'm enjoying watching robot fighting on Max's BattleBots. Interesting. That's an interesting question. You know, I really, over the last couple of years, I've been watching this show called The Morning Show with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. As many of you know, Reese Witherspoon was my first celebrity crush. Anything she watches, I watch. She's still damn good at what she does, and she's still hot too. So I still watch The Morning Show, which is very good. They just finished their third season the other day. I've been watching that. You know, there was a show on Netflix that I was watching. It was called Hyperdrive. It has something to do with cars and had these obstacle courses that you got to go through, and you have to hit a certain time mark to win the thing. I started watching that this past weekend with my uncle. I thought it was pretty cool. And then what else I've been watching? Oh, speaking of movies, check out the No Hearts Feeling movie that just came out with Jennifer Lawrence. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought that was very good. So go check that out. And this is going to make me lose some brownie points or manly points, but it is what it is. I followed down the conundrum of starting to watch the Love Island shows. I just finished season 5. I'm currently watching the Love Island games that just started uploading recently on Peacock. I would not watch these shows 5 to 10 years ago, but I gave it a shot, and it's not that bad, to be honest with you. I kind of get a kick out of it. It's pretty good. I like the concept of it. I'm not really big into like The Bachelor or the Jersey Shore stuff like that. I wasn't really into that stuff, but I gave this a shot, and I thought it was pretty good. So those are the ones I've been watching recently. So there you go. All right. Have you watched Wrestlers on Netflix yet, or The Dark Side of the Ring on Hulu? Any thoughts on those? I have yet to watch Wrestlers at Netflix. I need to catch up with that soon because I do want to watch that. As far as Dark Side of the Ring, I watched those mostly on Vice, and some of the topics are good, and some of them is just I just can't finish it. It's just too rough to go through. Like that whole episode with Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, that was too much for me. I just couldn't do it. Yeah, especially to the point where they're showing Eddie's death. Like I couldn't do it. It's good content. There's some really rough stories, man. But yeah, this is a certain point for me. I just couldn't sit through it. I think the last Dark Side of the Ring thing I watched was with Sonny and Chris Candido, and that was rough to sit through, man. All right. Last question for the Q&A this week. What is your favorite Black Friday gift for this season or any season before? Well, that's a good question. I don't really participate in Black Friday, so I'm the wrong person to ask this. So, you know what? If I were to get somebody something for Black Friday, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would give them like AirPods or something, or maybe give them a luchador mask, like my like my luchador mask here. I don't know. You can get anything for Black Friday, I guess. But yeah, this is my luchador mask. Got this at a flea market that my Wello sells stuff at in the south side of Chicago, called Swamporama. It's kind of close by the Sox Park. There's the back of it. Yeah, so that's the mask right there. All right. Yeah, so yeah, who knows? Get a speaker for your house. Maybe buy some house scents. I don't know. Maybe get some deodorant if you're a wrestling fan watching this. Who knows? Get a whole bunch of stuff. I'm the wrong person to guess because I'm not like big in buying stuff on like Amazon. Like I don't really buy a lot of stuff online, so I'm like the wrong person to ask for that type of stuff. But I appreciate the question though. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. This was a fun episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the what the hell is wrong with AEW rant earlier on the show. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot of good, insightful conversation this week. I appreciate everybody for the questions. I want to thank Sam and Brett for hanging out and interacting with me while the show's going on live. I appreciate you, brothers. Thank you so much. Like I said, I want to give, again, a big shout out to my guy, Robert Aurelius, for giving me a call the other day and checking up on me. It really meant a lot. Appreciate the encouragement and reassurance. I want to thank Chris and Mike again for saying questions. Like always, you guys can participate in the Back Porch Q&A session. All you have to do is hit me up at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. This time next week, we'll be 13 episodes away from episode 400. These weeks keep flying by, man. So episode 400 will be here before you know it. But I appreciate the support. Hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure to check out the podcast free of charge, the audio version. Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, the Odyssey app, anywhere you get your podcast from. Appreciate the support. I'm going to have a good weekend this week. I'm going to be spending some time downtown tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Then I got you guys covered for SmackDown. By the way, you can check out my wrestling transcripts at WrestlingHeadlines.com. And you can find me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast, Instagram at Josh Lopez Media. Remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll be here next week for episode 387 of the Hoots Podcast. Yes, sir.